I'm Jason Klom, and this is the Comedy on Vinyl podcast. The year is 1990, the album Brain Damage, the artist Sinbad, and my guest this week, Siike Donnelly. Thank you so much for being here, man.
Hey, thanks for having me, dude.
So we've been talking about this for a while.
Yes. Yeah.
You do all kinds of stuff on the interwebs. Let's talk about a few of them.
I do everything except sell my body, but I'm thinking about it.
That's fair.
Yeah.
It's tough times.
Yeah. The internet's a dark place, and I love connecting with people. So I think I originally, for those who don't know, in 2010 I had a brain aneurysm rupture. So I kind of went into recluse mode after that, and I was afraid to be around people and kind of feeling how people, like, you kind of pick up on their vibe or energies, I guess, and it kind of disorients you.
I bet.
So I kept away from people. But then actually a guy named Dan Harmon used to do a podcast called Harmontown. And one day I was in the audience and he just started talking to me, and he asked me, he tried to get me on the show like a dozen times. And I kept saying, no, I don't like talking to people. And he goes, just please, for me, just, it'll be good. It'll be therapeutic. And then actually the therapist I was seeing at the time was like, try new things.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah. So I did. And it changed my life, because actually talking to people and seeing that people weren't so afraid of me after that was kind of like a good feeling. And so I wanted to connect with more people, but in person, it's still a struggle sometimes.
Sure.
So I started doing YouTube, and then it's been a fun couple years since then.
What's really funny is, so I've seen some of your videos before, but today I happened upon one that was a review of an action figure where you just basically ate the entire box of the action figure, and that is one of the funniest things I've seen in a very long time.
Oh, thank you.
It was a delight.
I think that video is demonetized, but I didn't. That's funny. That's I didn't know what to do in that video, and I literally. I had a whole video planned to do an actual toy review, and then my brain just kind of shut down, and I didn't know what I was going to say. And then I just started eating the box, and then I just kept going. And then I said, why don't you just put this on the internet, and just see what happens? And and that actually got a lot of people to subscribe to me. They're like, can you eat more boxes? I'm like, it's not as good as it looks, actually.
Right.
Like, that box is probably touched by 100 people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's going to lose its impact after a while, like
Sure.
having the one video. And then you have to be concerned why they're asking. Is it a kink?
Yeah. Right. Right.
Is there kink watching a dude eat a box of Spider-Man toy thingy?
Right.
Yeah, that's a little disturbing. Yeah, because I didn't know about the Harmontown thing. You and I have met separately, so I didn't even know until today.
Oh, wow.
That you were on, because I have another buddy who's on Harmontown who really doesn't like talking about it because of how embarrassing drunk he was on it. But
gotcha.
you were on it for a fun reason.
I was sober, but which is hard to do at Harmontown, actually.
Yeah,
so,
I bet.
So I don't blame your friend, and shout out to a Harmontown fellow Harmenian, and to your friend. But it was. I think Dan brought me up for me as much as he did for himself. I think he, at least talking to him off stage, he seemed just like, he was intrigued in a person who was kind of, I guess, had their foot in the door of the other side, and was just like, but I'm like not very spiritual.
Sure.
So he's kind of like, oh, that's neat. He's like, normally people talk about how, they touch the other side and it's like changed their life. And he goes, and you'd rather be here with us. And he goes, most people don't say that.
Right.
And I go, yeah, no, I like being here. So yeah.
Okay, so I really want to. So when we met and I told you about the podcast, you're like, "Oh, can we talk about Sinbad?" And no one's ever asked about Sinbad, dude.
Really?
Yeah. So I want to know. Well, because his career is, I think, as to some people now, is like weirdly obscure movie actor, even though he still performs. He's still like a performing stand-up.
Sure.
So where did you first see you? Because now, full disclosure for everybody who knows, this album did come out on vinyl. I listened to it today. But Siike is familiar with the TV. Was it HBO, I'm assuming?
Yeah, I think it was. It was like, I think it was an HBO. I don't know, because he doesn't really swear in it.
No, that's true.
So I don't know if it was an HBO special or not, but yeah, it was on TV.
I don't know if you're allowed to wear Zubas and swear at the same time. I think it was a law that you weren't allowed to.
If anyone can, Sinbad can.
That's also true.
Yeah.
So where did you first see this then?
Sinbad. Well, this where it gets rocky because my memory is not the best.
Right.
But I'm pretty sure I remember watching that program on TV when it aired and falling in love with him. I think from this one, from Brain Damage.
Yeah.
What I liked about the comedy was he sounded like my uncle.
Okay.
My uncle complained about a lot of the things Sinbad complains about in that one. He talks about how stupid he thinks younger people are because when they work at McDonald's, they have the pictures of the burgers and they still don't know what's on the burger. And he's like, how can you not, like, you don't even need training. Just look at the picture. And you go, someone goes, is there onions on it? You just look at the picture and go, yeah, there's onions on it. Do you want no onions? And he was like, why? Because like in my day, there was no pictures, or there was a picture of one hamburger and a bunch of text or whatever. And he goes, so it just sounded like my uncle. And I think it made him really relatable to me because I looked up to my uncle.
Yeah.
My uncle was in the Navy and he had kind of like a no nonsense kind of mentality.
Sure.
And so when Sinbad was talking, I was like, wow, this guy sounds like a funnier version of my uncle. and I like that about him. And then from there, I just kind of, I don't know, I just followed his movies. I saw a lot of his movies growing up. I was a little older. I was getting into teenage years, probably when he was popular in movies. I was in high school around that time. But my little brother, I think it was a way to connect with him.
Okay.
Because he really liked Sinbad as well. And he definitely, that movie I was just talking about earlier with you was Jingle All the Way. When that came out, I was definitely in high school, but my brother loved it and my mom loved it too. And it was a movie we all connected on because that Christmas or the year before, whatever, my mom was like scouring for a toy for my brother that he wanted. And I don't remember what it was. I think it was pre-Tickle Me Elmo, but I can't remember. But it was, he wanted it badly, and she went to like 50 places, even cross state lines to look for it.
Shit.
And so I think we all connected to that movie. And
there was a period in like the late 90s-ish where there was about 5 years where every year, what's the new Tickle Me Elmo?
Yes.
And like that was the fucking big deal.
Yes.
Where'd you grow up?
Well, I was born in West Virginia, but then we lived in Athens, Greece for a while.
Holy shit!
Because I'm in a military family, so so we moved a lot. Mississippi, Florida, and then I think around this time we were in South Carolina.
Okay.
So we were like in that between there and Atlanta. I was like bouncing back and forth.
Holy crap!
And Atlanta had a great underground hip hop scene and comedy scene. So I kind of just gravitated to that. Growing up. Yeah. And Sinbad was definitely a doorway into a lot of different things. But what I liked about him was that he wasn't crass.
Sure.
Like I actually, most of my shows, I don't swear. And I think it's just because I just live by the Sinbad code. I'm not nearly as funny as he is, but he kind of rubbed off on me in that way to where it's like, oh, you can make a point without swearing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I full disclosure, I obviously love to swear, but I also love the art of doing, of kind of putting the same emotion behind something without it, because there's a lot of work. There's a lot of work to do,
Sure is.
And like listening to this, like full disclosure, so anybody who's listening to this, like if you're gonna listen to this album, it's the most 1990 album you've ever heard in your life. It's definitely a bunch like, oh, my wife is crazy. Oh, women are crazy. There's like that is a lot of what it is.
Sure.
So you got to look back at it with a little bit of perspective. But the way the man tells a story. I'm so happy to now feel like, oh, there's somebody else who tells a story as well as Bill Cosby, and I don't have to listen to Bill. I don't listen to Bill Cosby anyway, but I now have an alternative.
Of course.
Just one of the first things he says in the album, it's so dumb, and I could say that for most of the lines, but it's like that marriage sucks the brain out of your head, and just the way he says it, it's just so active and so visual.
I love when he's talking about that, and he's like, again, on the live show, he's like, he's like, men, when you're with a woman, like once you like committed and you're in the relationship and you're married or whatever, he's like, they'll brand you. He goes, so they'll make fun of the things you wear. And he's like, I love when he talks about it. He's like, yeah, you're leaving the house and you're thinking, yeah, I'm dressed good. And she goes, you wearing that? And you're like, nah, baby, I'm going to go change, and he's like, and she makes you second guess. And he goes, but they're just doing that to brand you. So that way, when you are in public, you're wearing a shirt they approve of, and that lets other women know that you're taken. And just hearing that and hearing him talk about, because in the live show he picks on a kid named Dominic in the front row, and he's constantly every joke he puts Dominic's name in it, and I love that. I was like, that's a great running gag.
That is
so
really
this
good.
kid in the front who like spoke and kind of heckled him in the beginning of the show is now the constant butt of every joke. But I thought that was a great engagement with his audience.
It's really funny.
And it was great. And he just keeps coming back to it. And he's like, you know how it is, Dominic. He's like, your girl. And, it's so funny.
It's so good.
But it's relatable. I mean, sure, that may not be true in most cases.
Yeah.
But sometimes people do feel that way, where they're like, oh, am I less me when I'm around this person? Whether it's true or not, you do get those feelings. So it's nice to entertain that notion and laugh at it.
Exactly. And that's the thing that I like about this. I was talking to my wife where I was like, I'm just glad it's this 1990 and not like Sam Kinison, which is like, fuck you, cunt,
Sure.
scream. Whereas, like, as you say, I like the way you put it perfectly, where it's just like, entertain it for a minute.
Yeah.
Because thoughts that people have, they don't have to be the truth.
Right.
He's not there to be a truth teller. He's there to be like let's talk about how we feel sometimes. And he does it in a very funny way.
He does. Yeah. It's interesting because and we'll talk about this later maybe too, but I've met him and, got to work with him.
I was going to ask. Good.
Yeah.
Right.
And even in person, it's like, it's the same feeling. I'm like, this guy is not like some prophet or anything. Yeah. But he does say things that you're like, all right, that's not true 95% of the time, but there's that 5% where I have had that thought. And now he's made me reflect on that and laugh at myself for it. And that's, I think, really good comedians do that to you. They make you look inward as well as outward, and they help you self-analyze a little bit.
And at no point does he takes plenty of opportunities to make himself the butt of the joke. There's no doubt about it. No doubt
he's
about
fully
it.
aware that he's victim to the same thoughts we all have. Yeah.
And then he's like, and he does make sure to do a little enough footwork to be like, men can be idiots too. This is not, the gag is not women are stupid. It's very much like
exactly. And the gag isn't women are controlling, or the gag is, it's just here's a moment, and we're gonna embellish on this moment for a second.
Let's talk about, because I only listened to it, the physicality. How physical is he in performing? I cannot imagine.
That's what I love, is that he's way too of a tall and slightly overweight guy to be doing half the stuff he does. And that's what I love, is that that, believe it or not, just watching him do that taught me a lot about work ethic. Yeah. Because he does not have to do that. I mean, Chris Farley had that effect on me too. Chris Farley was genius with physical comedy, and he's a big guy. That's a lot to move around in a fast, and to do it quickly, just for the sake of a joke. But they do it because they're committed to their craft. So the opening of the show is him coming out doing like an MC Hammer routine with these 4 younger guys, and the joke of it is that he actually runs out of steam halfway through and just lays down on the ground, and the other guys just keep going, and it's so funny. And he's doing it, like you said, in Zubaz, and he's wearing like the most loud outfit you can think of for 1990. It's like bright blue and red, and it's like Superman colors, and there's yellow in there or something. And it's so funny, but he's physically like, that's why when he stops to tell you a joke, you're 100% locked in, because your eyes have already been trained to not leave him. Because of his physical performance. And that, I mean, even to the point where the show, he comes out, he does the routine, and then people don't cheer enough, and he goes, you know what?
I saw that.
I hate you all. He's like, you need to cheer louder. This is my special on TV. He's like, so he tells the camera, he's like, all right, everyone, back to 1, and he goes back behind the set, and he's like, start the music again. We're going to do the whole thing again. And I love that. It's that commitment to the craft is amazing.
He becomes his own hype man and shit. Introduces himself.
Yes. Yeah. He's like, you know what? I'll do it. Voiceover guy. He's like, yeah.
It's so good. Actually, I'll give him some credit too. So on the album, and I'm assuming in this special, there's some sketches. Are there sketches in?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, yep.
He's good at voices. I'll give him that.
Yes.
I was not expecting voices to come out of him.
Oh yeah.
And then there's a ton of hip hop. There is like,
oh yeah.
Even though he explicitly says like he's kind of fresh to hip hop. He's like, I kind of like it. Like I kind of like rap.
Sure.
Which kind of in my brain, I'm like, shit, right? Rap. Hip hop still to most people still kind of new, even though it'd been invented 12 years before.
Right, right. But it didn't hit the mainstream like until, like you said, like late 80s, early 90s.
It's so weird to me.
But yeah, so he's more, I would say, like an R&B soul guy. And he demonstrates that, I think, a couple of times in this and other specials, where he'll kind of like take it slow. He kind of does that, where he's like swaying and stuff. But he's he acclimates really well, and he makes that part of his thing. He's like, look, I know I'm an older guy at this age, or at this time. He's like, so young people, he's got like a kind of dad perspective. And I got to say, as I've grown older, now I've become more like my uncle's age when I heard it.
Sure.
I'm like, yeah, no. Now it's somewhat more truthful to me when I hear him and listen to the show, because I'm like, oh, now I relate to that, as opposed to me looking at it as like it could be in connection for me and my uncle or something. I'm like, now I relate to what Sinbad's saying, and so now that's how I know I'm in dad territory.
For sure.
Yeah, I'm laughing at his dad jokes now.
Yeah. Would it have been something again? I know you can't be sure, but like, would it have been something you watched a ton of? Do you think?
I think this special, because when you first invited me here, I was like, Sinbad, let's do Sinbad. Yeah. Well, I think I threw out like one or two other ones.
You did. You're right. You're right. And I feel like I don't know what the issue was, but I loved Sinbad as a choice. I will say.
Yeah, I threw out a couple. I think Dave Attell was one, because I really like Dave Attell.
Oh, but there was no vinyl of all.
But there was no vinyl, right? And but then when I was like Sinbad, I was like, you know what? I should have started here, because I was like, this. I'm pretty sure I've seen that special so many times. I of course I can't remember exactly, but when I watched it on YouTube, I was like, oh, I know what he's going to say next.
Okay, yeah.
And that was probably like, 10, 15 years ago last time I watched it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting how that shit's buried back there and you don't realize it.
Well, I've learned a lot about that with memory over the past 10 years is what's buried, like I said on Dan Harmon's podcast, like when I woke up, I remember Peter Parker was Spider-Man, but I couldn't remember like moments of my childhood.
Yeah.
So it's funny the stuff that you put in yourself and your mind as important stuff.
Yeah.
Or things that matter to you. And it sucked. And I'm not saying those memories as a kid didn't matter to me, but it's just they were easier to shake loose.
Yeah.
Because they really weren't defining things for me.
Right.
And it's weird to learn that stuff. So like when I watched this show again, I was like, oh, I know what he's going to say next. And then I was like immediately laughing again. And it teleported me back right to when I was a kid, wearing a giant extra large Sinbad shirt, and
you had a shirt.
Oh yeah, for sure. And
damn it, that's so good.
He was awesome. I did like him. It wasn't like I followed his whole career, but like what you said earlier, he does voices. Yeah, he was in like Homeward Bound 2. I think he did the voice of one of the animals in Homeward Bound 2. And he was the only reason I saw Homeward Bound 2. I was like, oh, I'm definitely too old for this movie, but Sinbad does a voice. So I'm going to check it out.
Holy shit. Like, you're a super fan to some degree then.
So on some level, yeah, I would say for sure. He made an impact, man. He told really relatable jokes that I think anyone could connect with.
Let's talk about his most famous film, which is, of course, Shazam. Sorry, I just had to say that once, and we'll get that out of the way. That's not a real thing. Please, nobody think that I mean that. I find Sinbad delightful, and I feel like this stuff that I never saw this. I didn't, as a kid, I probably didn't know he was a stand-up because I didn't know shit about comedy. But I feel like I saw House Guest first.
Oh,
maybe?
Yeah, House Guest. Yeah, great movie.
I probably saw that for Phil Hartman because he was my hero.
Yeah.
Do you remember let's see, well, I'd have to look up the order, but maybe what's your favorite Sinbad film? Let's go there first.
Man, because he's been a guest spot in a lot of stuff.
True.
And he had a Sinbad show, which
That's
I really
true.
liked.
Yeah.
So I'd probably lean towards that. I mean,
Fair.
He's had some great, like I said, he had some great cameos, but maybe because it's the freshest in my mind, maybe I'll go with Jingle All the Way. But I think that's just because that was, I think, one of the first times where I realized, again, you don't think about life lessons when you're watching even dumb movies sometimes. What I liked about that movie was that there weren't really any villains.
That's right.
Between the two of them. Between him and Arnold. And that's unusual. In a movie. Normally you're just like, oh, we'll make it black and white evil and good.
Sure.
And we'll have one dad be the greatest dad and one dad be a spoiled dad. But they were both like pretty good dads. And they both had an arc in that movie. And so looking back at it as an adult, I think I appreciate that movie even more from a writing standpoint and a performance standpoint, because I'm like, wow, that's hard to pull off. I don't know if you could make Jingle All the Way today and not have just some giant jerk play his role and not like him through the whole movie.
Right.
And not root for him.
Yeah, he does have that weird charisma that I can't quite explain.
Yeah.
I don't know what
he's kind of charming. In like a very innocent, like friend way where you're just like, oh, I could be around this guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you don't know why. You're just like, hey, he's pretty relatable.
Well, not all comics necessarily even, and you don't have to if you don't want to, but like there's the big, the old thing is like if you do customer service and you're on the phone, they say, smile when you talk. They can hear it. I think he's got that going on.
He sure does.
And like listening to the album, I got a ton of so much energy, so much personality and a good comic can bring you along for a good joke or a bad joke. And you're mostly going to be along for the ride.
Yeah, sure.
It's just he's so loud, obviously.
Right.
Not only in how he dresses, but his volume. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I do think there's a lot of like just enthusiasm.
I think there's love for what he does.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean,
absolutely.
And like you said, like I said, I worked with him. So we worked on a pilot that was done in Orlando, Florida. So before I moved here, like 13, 14 years ago, I was in Orlando and I worked for a company that worked for Disney. And we did like in-house corporate videos for Disney.
Okay.
And we did their weddings and their marching band and stuff.
Okay.
In the parks and stuff. So we did a lot. And I was a videographer. I was filming all of that stuff. And then one day they were like, hey, we want to do, like our company's growing. We want to do a pilot for something kind of fun. Mm-hmm. And so they came up with this premise for a show that was, I don't know, it was kind of like, it was like high risk stuff, like where it's like, oh, you got to get into a pit with an alligator, and or you got to wrestle an alligator, something like that. And it was like a contestant show that they were pitching, and they came up with the idea for Sinbad to be the host. And I was working for them. I'm like, please do that. Like I would love to work with that guy, but also like he would probably make this silly premise entertaining.
Right.
Like that's what I kept thinking. Like not to bash on that company or anything, but I kind of was like, this sounds stupid, but watching Sinbad do it could make it really entertaining.
Yeah.
And he's a pretty good household type guy, so he could sell that premise just by being there.
Right.
It's like Steve Harvey doing like Family Feud.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's kind of perfect. And so I was like, yeah, we should get him. And so they did. I mean, not based on my recommendation, but they just did it anyway. Mm-hmm. And we got to do this whole pilot, and it never aired. It never saw the light of day as far as I know, but they did pitch it around a lot, and it was fun to actually work with one of my childhood heroes. Yeah. Like, I mean, and that was probably the first time that happened to me in my life. Like, luckily I got a couple other opportunities with other heroes after, but that was my first one. And I was like, this is great. So I'm sitting there filming him, looking at these, two people wrestling alligators. And he's just like, the faces he's making, he's like, what am I doing here? but he's also like selling it and making it funny. And it was awesome.
That's so good. Did you, what kind of interactions did you get to have with him as videographer? It's not the same as a producer.
No, it's nothing. I mean, I barely got to, really interact with him other than like, oh, let's try it from over here, or, do it from over here. But other than that, I mean, but there was downtime in between stuff.
Yeah.
And I would talk to him, and he sounds like he comes from a background before comedy of just hard work. Mm-hmm. It sounds like he knows what the value of hard work is. And I think that's why I've always gravitated to his comedy and his specials, is because I feel like you see it. Like, one of my favorite things to notice in a movie is when they go, oh, the budget was $80 million. And I look at it and go, well, I can see every penny on screen. Mm-hmm. And that's how I feel with Sinbad shows. I'm like, I can feel every amount of effort he could possibly give on screen, on stage.
Yeah.
And that's saying something about, his work ethic. But it sounded like he had a history of that before even he became famous.
Makes sense.
And I'm like, well, that makes a ton of sense,
Yeah. Because there's the TV special starts out with some documentary style stuff where he's kind of bullshitting with people and making jokes just all around the place, wherever they are. And
I think they're in Atlanta, actually.
Okay, there we go. And then, as you say, once we get onto the stage, man, he's got performers, he's got music, he's got pre-produced music. I mean, there's like, I don't know if it was ever a single, but the song Brain Damaged is on the album too.
Yeah.
There's... Which, by the way, I got to tell you, he must know he can't rap that well, and he's just do whatever. I love it.
Sure. Yeah. The thing about him is that he's what a lot of people miss nowadays, which is he's self-aware.
Yep.
I think a lot of people, it's hard to be self-aware, especially nowadays because there's so much going on.
Yeah.
But I think he's very self-aware, I think. And so I think, someone probably came to him and said, hey, we want to make a hip-hop song with you. And he's probably like, yeah, I suck at hip hop. And they're like, but you're Sinbad. Like, and he's just like, Okay.
All right.
And write me a check, and I'll do the best I can.
Do you have like a favorite bit off of this special? There's a lot of stuff.
There is. I mean, me, because I've gone through a life now of like retail and production and I've done a lot of stuff in my life. I've worked on cars and I've landscaped and I've had a lot of jobs, restaurants, everything. And I remember when I was leaving comic books, because I was working in comics for a couple years, and that was my dream job. Mm-hmm. But unfortunately, it was also, I learned, not my dream job.
Okay.
I was like, this is where I wanted to be my whole life. And then I got there and I was like, not that it was too hard work, but it was hard work for someone with my limitations. Mm-hmm. And so I said, and also my knowledge, I said, maybe I'm not really smart enough to do this right now. Mm-hmm. And I said, maybe I need some distance from it and reevaluate. Because one thing that's going on in comics right now, comic books, is that there's a disconnect in a lot of ways between the companies and the people that work for them and the fans. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of like, blockchains and stuff going on Twitter, and people just aren't communicating, and it's very politicized, and it's kind of a bummer in the sense that I always knew writers and artists from comics to be people you can go up and talk to. Mm-hmm. And to see it not be like that anymore is kind of heartbreaking for me.
Yeah, that sucks.
And I mean, maybe for good reasons, people have what they believe in. So it's sure. Like, sure, stand by what you believe in, but it is separating people. So I think for me, I was like, I started to get like that. I started to be standoffish with people and push people away and snap at people. And I said, what would untrain this is working in retail again. Mm-hmm. I said, working in retail really does train you to have thicker skin when it comes to dealing with rude people.
For sure.
And also it puts things into perspective when you work for a big company like Lego to understand your role and be like, hey, look, you're here. Someone comes in and they talk, yell at you or scream at you. You don't have to take that. Mm-hmm. If you don't want to. You can call security. You can do whatever. Or you can just easily give them what they want. Yep. And just tell them, hey, this is a one-time exception. I'll do, I'm helping you out. Please just lower your voice. There are kids in here. There's a diplomatic answer, and then there's the you don't have to deal with that answer. But Lego encourages both. Mm-hmm. And what I took as a challenge was, let's get better at the diplomatic one, and let's not have to call security on people, and let's just try to understand that they're coming in and they're having the worst day ever. Mm-hmm. And put yourself in their shoes. And I think I've gotten really good at that now. And I would say maybe now or in the next 2 years, I'd be in a better place to go back and work in something like sales and comic books. Yeah. Because I feel like I could be better at the diplomacy part.
Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah. That's fair.
Yeah.
I
learned that from that.
I love that. No, I love that very much. It's nice when people can, as a person who makes comedy and as a person who loves comedy, there's so many times when I've gotten very up my own ass and been like, comedy can change the world, but it really can't. But it can definitely do something like that.
Sure.
Giving perspective is all it's about.
Sure.
It's so huge and so important. And I just love how much you appreciate his craft and the fact that he works as hard as he does. It's not a thing that often comes up as much. It's like, let's nitpick the actual joke maybe, but.
Well, the jokes are subjective. So, yeah. So it's, for me, I'm like, well, I don't find, like me, I was like, well, I don't need to pick apart his jokes because I know I find them funny and relatable, but others don't. So I like looking at the person and the work ethic. I mean, those two things matter to me more than anything. Yeah. My grandfather taught me that. There was a time, I tell this story at work sometimes, where, some people are like, why do you work so hard? Like, because even just standing 8 hours a day talking to people is not easy for someone with some of my obstacles. Mm-hmm. So, as your listeners can't tell, but I'm wearing a helmet today. Mm-hmm. So it's something I have to wear from now on for a while. Yeah. So it's tough to do that job. And so sometimes a coworker might be like, why? Like, why do you do it? And I go, because if I don't, my grandfather will come down from heaven and kick me in the ass. Because there was a time when I was a kid where there was a dime store in Weirton, West Virginia, where I would go visit them during the summer. Mm-hmm. It's also where they filmed that J.J. Abrams movie about the alien and the kids.
Oh, right. Shit.
And I can't remember the name of it. It was not 8mm.
Super 8.
Super 8.
There we go.
They filmed it there in that town. And my grandfather worked at the steel mill there. So he knew a lot of the people in town. And we went to a dime store, and I stole a pack of candy cigarettes. And he found out, of course, because parents always and grandparents always find out.
Yeah, of course.
And he, as I wouldn't say punishment, because I didn't feel like I was being punished, but as a lesson, he took me to an Amish farm, this family called the Yoder family, and in Pennsylvania. He took me to their farm bright early, and I worked there for the whole day with the kids that grew up on that farm. And I was doing all the things they do, like, feeding chickens, cows, everything. I didn't know how to do any of that stuff before. And then I think we worked on the tractor for a little, they didn't have like a metallic tractor, but they had like something they used that was like a tractor.
Sure.
And at the end of the day, my grandfather said, okay, he's like, do you understand the lesson? I said, no. And he said, here's your day of pay. And he gave me a dime. And he said, you're going to go and give it back to that guy at the dime store. And you're going to admit like a man that you stole from him, and this is you paying him back, and you're going to tell him you earned that dime and that I didn't give it to you, but that you earned it with a good day of hard work. And I will tell you right now, that completely changed my outlook on work ethic for the rest of my life.
That's remarkable.
And it was probably the most valuable lesson my grandfather could have taught me. Some people would be like, that sounds like child abuse. I'm like, but it wasn't, because I didn't have a bad time on the farm. The kids were great. They were super nice to me. And I can still thankfully remember that story all these years later and use it as an anchor to whenever I think I'm having a bad day. I'm like, trust me, I was like 9 years old and I pushed myself through all that. I can push myself through a day here standing for 8 hours and talking to people.
Yeah. That's remarkable. Damn. That's a fucking depression era lesson he gave you. That is great. That is fantastic.
Well, he's old school.
You're now making me think. Just because it was such a well-told story, I would love to now hear Sinbad tell that exact same story.
Oh, man.
Because,
we got to get in touch with Sinbad. Like, Sinbad, tell that story and make people laugh.
Well, here's the thing. This was going to be the next thing I wanted to talk about. He's talking about shit I have no experience with. I'm not a black man.
Oh,
that's a big thing.
Sure.
B, I was 10 when this thing came out, right? So he's talking about weaves and stuff. He's talking about stuff that culturally I don't have any attachment to.
Sure.
But tells the stories in such a way where I'm like, this is the funniest thing on the planet.
Sure. I mean, and that's the thing. He actually was one of the first comedians to teach me when he tells a story, like it says maybe something specific like weave or something like that. But if he's telling another story about being a black man, for example, he was one of the first comedians that taught me to take the word black out of it when I'm listening to it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, yeah, I know as a man, especially now listening to it, I'm like, well, as a man, I know what he's talking about, just despite of, race. Like I said, there are specific times, like you mentioned, where where it's like, okay, I might not connect with that or relate to that. But the way his delivery is, you're just like, you're there with him. It's almost like you were there when it happened, standing next to him. And he's reminiscing on it, and he's putting a funny spin on it. You're like, oh yeah, I remember when that happened.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He invites you in, and that's what a good comic does.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know. I imagine a lot of stage walking, like a lot of back and forth.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he paces a lot. Yeah. But he's got an energy. But it's not like erratic. Like it's very specific. And that's like Sam Kinison was erratic.
Sure.
And even Chris Farley was erratic. But I mean, the one thing a lot of those guys had in common too was probably drugs and stuff. I think Sinbad kept more of a level head. I don't know what he's done in his personal life, so maybe he did dabble in that stuff, but it never showed.
No.
And he always, if he made a quick move, it was intentional. If he paces, it's to. He knows how to command attention. So he's wearing this loud suit and he's pacing back and forth. You can't help but not just watch him.
Yeah.
And you're like, but it's not like in a nervous cat kind of way. It's just like, all right, where's he going with this? And you're listening to every word. And then when he hits you, you're like, oh yeah, awesome. That was worth the wait. Or he took me along for that journey,
Right.
Yeah. It's funny. It's surprising that a lot of people don't, recommend him because, I feel he's definitely a master of his craft.
For sure.
I love his stuff. He's really awesome.
It could be to some people he's not edgy enough. It could be
probably
they're just picturing the pants and they just didn't think about the fact there's probably some content. I mean, like 1990, this is as good as anything within those 10 years that, you know what I mean? Like 10 years on either side of it. Like it's oh my God. And he does a lot of impressions.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to see. Oh, he did one that really landed with me, which was Grandma and the Magic Money, where he's talking about how grandmothers they haven't worked in 50 years, and yet, Grandma, I need $2,000 for something. Oh, let me look at my purse. Oh, here, I just found $2,000.
Yes.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Oh, and I went through that. I definitely went through that. I was a spoiled boy, but yeah, he absolutely. I don't know.
Sure.
Something about that.
That's hilarious. Yeah, because my grandma, she had 9 kids.
Ooh,
almost 13, but 4 miscarriages.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, we come from a very big Irish family. And she never worked a day in her life. She never had a job. She never had a driver's license. My grandfather, he was in the military and he worked at a steel mill, and he worked his ass off to provide for 8 daughters, 1 son, and a wife, and I'd be like, oh, I'm going down to the comic book store with Ryan, my little brother. I was like, we're gonna ride our bikes down there, and she goes, okay. She goes, you need $10, and I'm like, yeah, that'd be great. That would give me like 5 or 6 comic. Well, this was back in the 80s, so I'm like, yeah, I could buy like 10 comic books with that. And she's like, here's $10, and I'm like, where did she get that from? Like, like she doesn't work. Yeah. But no, yeah. So that's a great joke. You're right. That's a great one.
It's just I don't know why that just hit me so hard. It just This is one of the reasons I can't or haven't tried stand up is that like the frequency with which I come up with something that might sound like a universal truth is so rare.
Sure.
You know, and not everybody relates to that, but there is something hard in there where a lot of us do.
Yeah,
you and I don't know each other that well. We didn't grow up together.
Right.
Neither of us are black.
Right.
You know, neither of us grew up where he grew up, and that is 100% this very strong.
The thing is, I think, like I don't know. I've never dabbled in comedy myself or anything, but I know what it's like to try things, and you'd be surprised. You write a joke and you think no one's going to connect with this.
Right.
I'm pretty sure someone will. You got to take a chance, and I know you know that, and it's a lot of trial and error. I mean, he didn't just write that joke and it was awesome, you know.
Perfect out
he who knows, maybe he tried like an auntie, purse, and maybe he tried other versions and they didn't land, and when he landed on grandma, people were like, that is true. So yeah, jokes take time, and but that's where I think work ethic comes into it. So when he does do a joke that I really connect with, I'm like, wow, he's transcending barriers but he didn't give a crap about barriers. He's like, I'm just telling my joke.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't care if you're white, black, or Hispanic. I don't care who you are. If you're listening to this, something's going to land with you.
Yeah.
And he's like, but my job isn't to have everyone love me. It's just to be entertaining, And I think that's where he's great, is maybe you don't always laugh at his stuff, but man, is he fun to watch.
And the audience just, holy cow, man.
Yeah.
So on board.
Well, he's such a good hype man. He's his own hype man, like you said. So sometimes that helps.
I want to know how often he did that, because that bit's not on the album, so I'm glad I watched a little bit of the video. That bit's definitely not on the album. It just starts out, I think, with the song Brain Damaged.
Yes.
And then just goes into the rest of the show. It's really too bad, because that hype man thing is...
It's hilarious.
Just a whole bit.
But that's also what makes this album fun to pick, too, is that there's 2 different versions of it. Which is awesome. Because I've heard other comedy albums on vinyl, and I'm like, oh, this is just the special I saw. But yeah, so it's nice to have like the Earth 1 version and Earth 2 version.
Of course, I had to go to the comic book.
Yeah,
that's perfect. I want to talk about how he comes across visually, because I'm sure, as a person who has worked in comics, who draws, I don't know, like, how does he strike you visually? I can't even think of the smartest way to even ask this question. As somebody who draws, I don't have, I can't, my brain is just completely, I went blank.
So like, I guess, how does he...
The dumbest question I've ever asked in my life, man.
How does he, I guess, appeal to me as someone
visually,
who loves visual media and stuff?
Thank you. And I've asked that question before. Whatever. Screw me. I'm an idiot.
Well, you know what? I guess I never thought of it, but he does look like he jumped out of a comic book page. I mean, like I mentioned earlier, he's got like Superman colors on, kind of.
Yeah,
you know,
that's
and he's
what
got
got me
like these
thinking
big
about
loud
it.
suspenders on, and he's kind of he is a character, and he is maybe a fictionalized character to some level, but you know, maybe as a kid too, who I loved. X-Men was like my favorite comic around this time in 1990. And I think Bishop had just appeared. And so like Bishop and Storm were like two of my favorite X-Men characters. And they interacted a lot in the comics. And then I think at that time too, a lot of my friends, because we were living in like just different areas of like Mississippi and Jacksonville. So like a lot of my friends were black growing up. Like and my best friend actually at this time was a kid named Terrence, who was like my first best friend I ever had. And I remember because my parents split up at this point, and my dad was pretty prejudiced dude. And I remember I didn't know how my mom felt about that. So when I became friends with Terrence, I didn't bring him over.
Yeah.
And then one day my mom's like, well, you always talk about Terrence. Why don't you bring him over? And I go, oh, I didn't know if you'd like him. She goes, why wouldn't I like him? He's your best friend. And I go, well, he's black. And my mom was like, so bring him over. she was like, I'm not your dad, you know,
Yeah.
like bring him over. And I remember, it was something as a kid I didn't think was a big deal.
Right.
But of course, you know, I saw adults make it a big deal.
Yep.
So I was like, oh, well, he's my best friend. And so anyway, we watched Sinbad together, you know, and I loved his, you know, seeing Terrence's reaction to it. So, and then we would laugh at the same jokes. And that's why I said, I felt like Sinbad was kind of this window into barrier breaking for me. I think every kid goes through that moment, you know, at some point where they hit a crossroads and they connect with somebody who's different than them. But then you realize you're not different at all.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, and that moment, it just happens to coincide with Sinbad. So I think that's why he appeals to me on that level, but also he gets tied into that comic book stuff. So I would say, to answer your question, yeah, he especially in this special, he appeals to me. He's easy to look at because I'm used to looking at people in bright colors all the time.
Yeah.
You know, like the X-Men or stuff. So, or Superman. So to me, I'm like, yeah, he's my demographic.
Yeah.
from a nerd standpoint.
Right.
But when you talk to him, he's actually a big nerd too. So
Yeah. I
he's a
love
very
it.
nerdy guy.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I'm glad that we got then to the question I like to ask, but almost forgot to ask, which is, have you ever made friends over comedy? But I like that, or like had a friendship kind of more cemented by comedy. But I love you had this one thing that you could share.
I would say Terrence was probably that. Like we bonded over other things. Like I think wrestling was a big thing back then. Like
Okay.
Hulk,
Sure.
Hulk. I think Hulk Hogan was my brother's favorite wrestler, but me and Terrence, we love the Ultimate Warrior.
Okay.
He was our favorite.
Yeah.
And
Wasn't he also incredibly neon? Like a very
He was super,
okay,
yeah, of course,
man,
yeah.
All right. I'm getting
Yeah.
your taste now. All right.
Well, I mean, yeah, exactly. I mean, that's why, like, say I have a lot of friends that do drag now, and I'm like, and people are like, "Oh, you know that person?" I'm like, "Of course." I'm like, "Look how they're dressed; they're amazing." Like, so I know I naturally gravitate towards bright colors, and even now, it's so weird that my life has kind of come full circle in that way, where it's like, I gravitate toward colors for, you know, brain damage reasons, and that's also, I was like, wow, this is another cool thing to talk about for this episode. This this show in particular is because it's called brain damage. I have now suffered from it, and it has, as I've delved deeper into why I liked it so much preparing for the show, and it helped me self-analyze again. And then I called my mom. I'm like, tell me some stories about Sinbad. And she goes, oh my God, you loved him growing up. She's like, well, I haven't thought about him in years.
Yes.
And she told me all these great stories, like the Terrence thing and every stuff. And she was telling me all these things, like memories I don't have, but she's telling me. And I'm like, man, I go, so it was cool to see that come full circle. And then now talk about it here with you is like, I'd never thought about the comic connection of how they dressed, but that makes so much sense now. Like you just helped me self-reflect. I'm like, wow, yeah, I do have a history of people in bright colors. Like, but I like that stuff.
I'm glad I did it with maybe the poorest worded question in the history of this
amazing.
podcast.
See,
I don't
that's
know
what
what
I'm
the
saying.
fuck happened, but you read my mind.
That's what I'm saying. Don't give up. You know, just try. Even if you don't think you worded it right, you're onto something.
By the way, anybody who's listening to this, I have cut that out. But
did you?
Oh, I'm going to. I will because I stumbled so hard. I ate my own tongue on that.
That's
thing.
okay. It's funny. I do that all the time on YouTube when I'm making my videos, and people go like, "Oh, you speak pretty good," and I go, "Well, I've been having years of practice now, you know, because I had to go through speech therapy and public speaking and did stuff like that."
Oh,
and
okay.
behavioral classes, like getting to look people in the eyes when I talk to them. Like that was a big struggle for a long time.
Interesting. Okay.
So it's like I'm applying everything I've learned. But yeah, sometimes I make mistakes, so I cut them out. But there's been a couple of times where I'm like, I'm keeping it in. And I just watched it last night too. It's one of my favorite movies. It's a remake, but it's a great remake, which is the Secret Life of Walter Mitty.
Oh yeah.
With Ben Stiller. I actually saw that at Fox like 6 months before it came out. And then when it came out in theater, I saw it twice opening weekend. And I never go to the theaters, hardly ever. I think I saw like 7 movies last year.
Yeah.
But that year that came out, I saw that movie 3 times total.
Yeah.
And we watched it last night because my roommate never saw it. And at the end, Sean Penn makes this comment about living in the moment and how he's like, sometimes I don't take the picture. I just live in the moment.
Yeah.
And that was like, it's a line in a dumb movie to some people. But for me, I was like, you know what? I'm going to try to do that. So sometimes I'll make mistakes and I go, just leave it. I'm like, you're human.
Yeah.
Like, it's okay to make mistakes and fumble. It's like, I know it might be us as storytellers and editors, like we cringe at it later. We're like, oh no, but I would say in the future, maybe allow yourself to keep those in sometimes.
I usually do.
Yeah.
This was just the worst of them.
I was hoping I would talk about it so much that you would now force yourself to put it back in.
I may. I mean, you're right.
We've crossed a threshold now.
We really have.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No. You're keeping me honest. No, this is good. No, you're challenging me. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
It's interesting is to so this whole, this podcast has been at least hinted at that it's like, it's really about nostalgia a bunch. It's not always about nostalgia.
Sure.
But it's definitely about, we're always looking back on a thing that influenced us as we were young. And like you just described having to relive it through being told that was a part of your life.
Right.
So what was there that you did remember before you asked your mom for all the details? Just bits and like, I know I liked Sinbad and obviously I've seen his movie since, or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, I remember that.
Yeah.
But I also remember a little bit about Terrence. Because I remember that, like some of those moments, but my mom had to like, oh no, you're remembering it wrong. It was kind of like this, and then my mom even admits, she goes, I don't have the best memory either, but between the two of us, I trust her memory way more than I trust my own. And, but it's been nice because at first my mom, she really struggled with it. Like imagine your 28-year-old son waking up and not knowing who you are. Yeah. Like it rocked her, man. Like she and I disconnected for a long time. She had a little bit of a hard time at first. But we've kind of got past that, and she's now finding like old pictures and she'll send them to me. She'll just be like, hey, here's some photos of you as a kid. And, I'm like, wow, and I'm looking at these photos. I'm like, God, and there's a disconnect from me. Cause I'm like, I don't know this kid, but he's wearing a Batman shirt. To the premiere of 1989's Batman. Yes. And he has Batman Converse sneakers on.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, so that must be me. So it's kind of neat, but I think really what it is it's a way to connect to my mom.
Yeah.
So it's a little different for me. I sometimes I'll fake that I remember stuff. But I just like hearing her tell these stories, because for parents, like if you're out there and you don't know this about your parents, memories are everything to them. And they always, you say like nostalgia, but you're really just looking back at things. Like it's not a negative. And so my mom, and all moms and dads, they just look at you as the kid you were. Like no matter how old you get, you're their little boy or little girl. And so, from time to time, like talk to your parents, like, and ask them like, hey, tell me a story about when I was a kid. Trust me, you'll make their day. Like my grandma loved that. Before she passed, like that was her, she would love if you called her and asked her that. So yeah, I would say you can learn these life lessons. And that's why, going back and talking about this show, it's like, I don't have any kids. So it's nice to go back and look at ththings that did, make a difference or impact on me, or that helped me grow. Because kids will usually help you grow. You learn a lot.
Yeah.
I work at Lego. I see parents all the time, and some parents feel bad, like, oh, I feel like I'm screwing up. I'm not being a good parent right now. And I'm like, you'll learn, man. It's no parent has all the answers.
No.
You're gonna struggle, but as long as you're self-aware, You know, you'll get there. It'll be fine.
And if you ask your grandmother to tell you a story about when you're a kid, don't forget to ask her for $2,000.
Yeah, get some money off her, man.
You know what I'm saying?
That purse that she has is loaded.
That just tickles me so hard. That's just such a good bit.
Yeah, it
is. Let's do this. I'd like to know other comedy albums. If you've got any you can draw from, like other stuff that you're a fan of, besides Sinbad, because I always like to know other people's tastes.
Yeah, I mean, like I said earlier, I love Dave Attell.
Yep.
He tells my favorite joke in the whole world.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I like telling it. My mom doesn't like when I tell it, but I mean, my dad was abusive too. Mm-hmm. So this joke, I gravitate towards it.
Okay.
But Dave Attell tells this joke. He says, he goes, I hate traveling. I think it's because my dad used to beat me with a globe.
That is a perfect joke.
It's so good. It's short and perfect. And the visual of an older guy hitting a kid with a globe has got to be the funniest vision that ever entered my brain.
Oh my God!
So I love telling that joke. I think it's the funniest thing.
That's so, and I can absolutely picture him telling it.
Oh,
of
it's
course,
so good
because he's a very particular.
Sure.
Oh my God, that's wonderful.
But that's in all of jokes. That's my favorite one. It makes me laugh every time I hear it.
That's fair.
And then I mean, I loved Mitch Hedberg. I was a big fan of his. I know Chris Farley was more of an actor and performer, but I loved him. Him and Belushi growing up. I mean, I remember it was like, God, I was like, man, how many heroes of mine are going to die this way?
Right.
It was heartbreaking as a teenager, especially a teenager going through like, bouts of depression and stuff. It was like, man, I'm like, I don't want to go down that road of those guys, but and Chris, he willingly followed in Belushi's footsteps.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I like those guys. I loved, they all became the kings of comedy, like Bernie Mac and, and Steve Harvey and all them. But I loved all them, Cedric the Entertainer, like those guys were really funny. So, yeah, I would say I went to comedy clubs a lot when I was younger, but I mostly went to concerts. Okay. So I got more into music in the time that I probably would have gravitated to more comedy. So comedy I just kind of came across. But I had a massive diagnosis of insomnia for a long time, and Insomniac just happened to be a show that was on Comedy Central, and that is what introduced me to Dave Attell.
Love it.
And so from there, I was like, let's look at more comedians. So of course, I went down the typical route of like the Dane Cooks and everyone who was like really big. And then like what was it? There was a Steven something. He like sang, and he like sang songs. He had an album called Superhero.
Oh, wait a minute.
Stephen Lynch.
Oh, Stephen Lynch. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
I liked him a lot, and and honestly, Bo Burnham. I saw his one of his first comedy specials, like the one where he's like running around playing piano and he's doing everything, and that had such a profound impact on me watching his work ethic on stage. That it led me to create a book where I did everything myself in the book. I was like, I'm going to do this style of art, and I'm going to paint, and I'm going to draw with pencil, and I'm going to spray paint, and I'm going to learn how to stack rocks. And I was like learning all these different art styles to tell one story. And that literally comes from watching Bo Burnham do that one special.
I love that.
And I was like, God dang, this guy is very talented
He's ridiculous.
And he's like half my age. I'm like,
yep,
you got to be kidding me.
Yep. I hate him and love him at the same time. I don't actually hate him.
Sure.
He's just so good.
He's super talented, dude. Yeah. And then like Heather Campbell and the people who did Whose Line, like I liked a lot of them. Wayne Brady. I got to work with Wayne Brady. So yeah, I did the Wayne Brady show. It was like my third job in Florida when I moved there. They came and did a special at Epcot Center.
Oh, okay.
And so I got to be a part of that. I was like a jib operator assistant.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was great. So I was funny. I just did on my YouTube show the other day, but people were asking me like, you moved out here, 13 years ago, you wanted to get into movies and comics, and like, are you leaving? You're kind of leaving not by your choice. It's kind of health related and everything, when I move and next month. And so they're like, are you leaving with any regrets? And I was like, that's such a good question. I go, well, instead of just giving a short answer, let's challenge myself and explore the last 13 years. And then let's do a live stream where I actually talk about it. And we did the other day. And at the end, I was like, no regrets. I go, I got to work in TV, movies. I got to meet a lot of my idols. Yeah. My second day in LA, I met Steven Spielberg.
What?
Like I did a show called On the Lot, which was a reality show. That was my first job here in LA in 2007. And I got to meet him. I got to meet Michael Bay. We got to see Transformers before it came out. Like it was, I mean, I was like, did I accomplish every little thing I wanted to? No. But did I do everything I came here to do? Yeah, absolutely. Right. And I said, and then I got to spend the last 4 years at Lego where I got to meet great people like you and connect with people and learn about myself, learn what kind of leader I want to be at a company. I got promoted at Lego. I jumped from like a seasonal part-timer to 2 positions above it. It's like, I mean, it taught me a lot about myself, things I needed to learn. So I said, no, man, like this, there's definitely 0 regrets. Like I can't think of one moment out here that wasn't, perfect, even the bad ones.
Yeah. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
You have been a delight as a guest.
You're awesome, man.
Well, I'm sad to hear that you're moving.
Yeah, I know that, but I'm glad we got to do this because I felt so bad. It was like you're like, hey, I'm available this week. I'm like, oh, I'm not. And then we were just like playing tag and
all the time.
I'm sure it does, and it's a bummer because I try not to be like that, but we had like at Lego specifically, we had so many changes in the past like 5 months. Different managers. And
Sure.
I mean, it's been hard to keep that job going, and so it's nice that we finally got to do this, man. It means a lot to me.
Real. Me too. Tell people, this is probably going to come out this week, so tell people where they can find you, if you've got anything you want to promote.
Well, for those of you out there who are waiting for my book to come out, who've been waiting like a couple of years, I promise it's near done.
Okay, good.
It's not just one book though. It's a couple books.
All right.
So I had to take extra time and reformat a lot of stuff. So it's called The King of Neverland, and it's a sequel to Peter Pan.
Love it.
So that'll be coming out probably later this summer, hopefully, of 2020, depending on when you're hearing this. So if you're listening to this in 2021 and my book's not out, you write me and threaten my life. But my main thing is YouTube. It's youtube.com/Siike Donnelly, SIIKE DONNELLY. So that's my main place. And then Instagram and Twitter is @VenomVlog, VLOG, VenomVlog. And that's my main show on YouTube. I literally have just been talking about Venom for like 3 years on my YouTube channel.
Love it.
And I had Tom Hardy on the show.
Holy shit.
Because I mean, I pump out, I'm on episode 460.
Damn.
I think. And I've been doing it for just over 2 years and like 2 months. So yeah, I pump out a lot of content for Venom. And people are always like, how can you talk about Venom so much? I'm like, the reason I picked that character is because in the comics, he's broken and he's flawed. And that's how I felt when I started the show. I said, I feel like I've made a lot of mistakes in my life and I want to learn from them. And also, I'm a big fan of Tom Hardy and I like the character Venom. So why don't we try to make the show about my life, me trying to be a better person, talk about Venom, the character, and show that how he's progressed from a villain to an anti-hero and how he's become a better person. And let's find other people out there that connect with that message. And so far, it's been going pretty good. And it got Tom Hardy's attention, which was awesome.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's remarkable. Yeah. Well, honestly, congratulations.
Oh, thanks.
Because, not just for busting your ass, but for accomplishing so much. It's one of those things like you got to look internally sometimes and you got to realize, oh shit, I've done a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
I've
sure.
done, after
too much for one life.
Right, yeah. Like after 9 years with this podcast, I'm often like, well, it's not my day job, but have I met most of my heroes? Yeah. I met a ton of my heroes. And
look, it's explored. You're into like the Davey stuff now, and it's like it opens doors. Like I know the financial and the reality reasons to not continue something like this, but at the same time, it would be such a shame. Like I always tell people, you guys could stop watching my show tomorrow, and I'm probably still going to make it.
Sure.
Because this is just as important to me as it is for maybe some of you. But to connect with people should be the goal.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people I see on YouTube who are bigger, they don't have that. I'm like, well, you're only big because you talk about things that are like hot button things, and you gravitate people who have passionate opinions one side or the other to you. And I go, anyone can grow an audience like that.
Yeah.
Actually, that takes zero talent to do. That just takes a little bit of awareness, and you can goat people into being your followers.
Yeah.
But that's the one thing I take pride in my show, is that we have this nice, slow, steady build of people who don't come in and scream at each other, who have different opinions but talk about it.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, it's the lowest stakes possible. We're talking about Venom. We're talking about a movie and a comic book character. Like, we don't need to death threat each other.
Right.
It's a comic book character. Like,
It should be fun.
it's
man.
just fun. And if you don't like it, then I promise you, in a year they'll switch writers and you'll love that version.
Right,
Like, just
right.
be a little patient.
Absolutely. Yeah, it is also in since it's in that weird friggin' like a limbo of what is this, because Sony owns all these rights. And
well,
they're
that's
so
the
crazy
big. That's
too,
all the
you know?
conversations we have.
I
yeah.
bet. Like, it's just like, well, we can do kind of whatever the hell we want, sort of, you know, and that's interesting. For that reason, I'd like to see it. I don't watch a ton of comic book movies, but I would like to actually see that.
Yeah.
Again, this has been a delight. I feel like now that you're saying some of the things you're saying, I should point out my Patreon is kind of a thing now. Nobody's subscribed yet because it just rebooted it this week. So patreon.com/Jason Klom. No, wait. Is it Jason Klom or Stolen Dress? Very good advertising. It's either Jason Klom, JASONKLAMM, or Stolen Dress, as it sounds. Siike, again, thank you very much.
Sure.
for
Actually,
doing
I
the
just
show.
subscribed. I just got a Patreon, so I'll subscribe to you too.
Good. Okay.
I do
Wonderful.
a Superman podcast on there.
Amazing.
So I
Okay.
will subscribe to you. I'll be your first subscriber.
Well, that's very kind of you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you guys for listening, and as always, have a good thing. Comedy on Vinyl is a production of StolenDress Entertainment. It is produced by Mike Warden and is hosted and edited by Jason Klom. Our theme song was composed and performed by Richard Levinson. You can email us at podcast@comedyonvinyl.com. You can also send snail mail to StolenDress Entertainment, P.O. Box 805, Burbank, California, 91503. Subscribe to Comedy on Vinyl on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and anywhere else you can find podcasts. Give us a 5-star rating and write us a review. It helps. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Comedy on Vinyl, or find everything in one place at comedyonvinyl.com. A major portion of Comedy on Vinyl has been underwritten by Stand Up Records. Please visit standuprecords.com for all your comedy needs, and tune in to the new Stand Up Records channel available on the Roku, where you can also find select episodes of this podcast. Visit StolenDress.com to listen to our other podcasts, watch videos, and imbibe freely of our multimedia content going back 15 plus years.